the hell we are. Can you guide us the old-fashioned way? Oh, sure. Let me just get my compass, lick my finger, and stick it in the air. Hey, you're the one who insisted on buying cowboy boots for this little adventure. At least try to earn some country cred. Simon sighed dramatically, but he took the phone, zooming in and out on the map and cursing until finally declaring, "Straight, for another 30 minutes, give or take a cow or 12. So, for real, what are the chances that this guy's gay?" Simon asked, turning down the radio. It'd make sense, right? I mean, why else would he leave 3 women at the altar and then refuse to answer any questions about it? Jordan pursed her lips and pondered the very dilemma that had Simon and her driving through nowhere Montana in the first place. Luke freaking Elliott, runaway groom extraordinaire, and hopefully the savior to Jordan's career. If she could get the guy to even talk to her. As to Simon's assessment that he was gay, maybe? It was a good explanation for Luke Elliott's complicated romantic history. As Simon said, there had to be a reason he'd been the groom in 3 weddings that hadn't happened. But her instinct said that wasn't the case, not here. Or maybe that was just wishful thinking. Jordan's career needed Luke Elliott to be very much into women. Specifically, she needed him to be into 25 women who would compete on national television to coax him down the aisle in a fairy tale wedding. Also on national television. Forget The Bachelor. Jordan's network had taken the hit reality show and raised it a notch, focusing not just on sexy bachelors, but runaway grooms. Men who'd gotten darn close to saying vows, only to escape at the last minute. To Jordan's boss's thinking, a runaway groom represented the ultimate challenge, and thus, being the one woman who could finally get a ring on his 4th finger represented the ultimate fairy tale. As associate producer to the woman who'd pitched the TV show, Jordan had been tasked with candidate recruitment. Trouble was, while there were plenty of douchebags who ditched women at the altar, not many of them were redeemable, or even appealing. Jordan had spent the past 6 months looking for a runaway groom who wasn't a grade-A asshole, an immature jerk, or suffering from some substance abuse or mental issues. Luke Elliott was her best shot. She'd read about the guy in a tiny local Montana newspaper. He was a 30-something firefighter who'd left 3 women at the altar over the course of the last decade, and yet somehow had still managed to maintain his status as his small town's darling. The details had been sparse, but she hadn't needed details. Just the picture. Granted, the photo had been black and white and grainy, but there'd definitely been the promise of attractiveness. It was all the encouragement needed to stalk the man. Or, at least, she'd tried to. He wasn't on Facebook or any of the usual social media suspects. She'd found what she was pretty sure was his email address, but had gotten nowhere with that. She'd even sweet-talked her way into obtaining his phone number. Nothing. Not a single response in 3 weeks. And so, here she was. Out in the middle of nowhere, hoping that a face-to-face meeting would convince this guy that he'd be the perfect star for the inaugural season of Jilted. As far as how she felt about that? Somewhere between pissy and freaked out, landing somewhere in the middle zone of irritated. Thank goodness for Simon's company. In the 4 years she'd been working at CBC, he'd become both good friend and valued colleague. Simon was on the network's legal team, known as their on-the-ground lawyer. He worked mainly with the network's reality shows and was the guy they sent to answer contract questions from possible candidates, as well as to identify red flags and wild cards to be avoided. Jordan sighed, and Simon shifted in his seat to study her, his blue eyes assessing. "What's with you? You've been edgy ever since JFK. Is it because Starbucks was out of hazelnut syrup?" She let out a little sigh. "We'd better hope that's not the reason. There's no hazelnut syrup where we're going." "Yeah, no Starbucks in